So I did debate about what I want to talk about because I'm super duper proud of the work that we have done at the CDC on the report stream, and a lot of folks in this room have contributed to that. And just to give it a little shout out, over 40 million test results from all kinds of places delivered to public healthcare jurisdictions. And it's amazing, and it's awesome, and it's open source, and you can go look at it in GitHub if you want. But I wanted to talk about something else because I figure I don't get many opportunities like this kind of forum. And I'll just say that I think it's fascinating that this is going to be another talk about security and open source. Clearly a theme today, not planned, but definitely what you guys just talked about, kind of moving along the same vein. So this is my modest suggestion to improve open source adoption in government. But first, some boilerplate. This presentation is wholly for me and does not reflect in any way an official position of any part of the federal government, any agency. So it is just my crazy idea. And if it's terrible, it's just, remember, just my crazy idea and no one else's. So it's also why I'm using this terrible slide format, because I want to make it absolutely clear that no one else helped me with this. This is my own format. All right. Package repositories are awesome. The package repositories are the online services that provide you access to the code that does something you need to get done. If you need to convert dates from one format to another, there's a package for that. Do you want to download videos from YouTube? There's a package for that. Do you want to convert your text into Pig Latin? There's the AA package pay or fake ethic. For real, you can go download them for every single language that's out there. Don't know why you would, but you can. The icons, the logos on this slide reflect only a portion of the available repositories that are out there and the code that's out there. There's over 3 million open source packages available right now, and there's 100 more added every single day, which is a phenomenal amount of help and support and features that you can pull right off of the internet and use in your application. But as awesome as they are, they're also vulnerable to some big issues. Just a few examples to show that they aren't perfect. There's the so-called supply chain packs, which are a particular concern. The first one that I listed is the XZ utils that just happened this year, where a very sophisticated set of actors was trying to infiltrate one of the most used compression libraries in open source, at the very heart of the Linux operating system that is used around the world. Speaking of, by the way, if anyone ever runs into a guy named Andreas Freund from Microsoft, you should buy him a beer. He should never ever have to pay for a beer ever again, because he's the guy who founded and saved us from a huge security headache in the future. But there's other issues. Left pad is a great example where there was a package that was used all throughout the Node.js libraries, and then someone wanted to unpublish it, causing all kinds of problems. There's also sometimes low quality or sometimes breaking changes creep in when you're not expecting them to, and surprise, your application no longer works. It's, these are problems. But I think that there's a way that we can solve them. Really quickly though, I'm going to take a detour through OpenBSD so you understand where I'm coming from. OpenBSD is an open source project just like Linux, which is to create a Unix-like operating system that is secure by default. And it's been around forever. The BSD operating systems have been around since at least the late 60s, early 70s. The way that they achieve being secure by default is that they continuously audit software for security vulnerabilities, even if it means that they're just slightly behind the latest and the greatest. BSD, by the way, in case you're curious about where it might be used, it's actually the foundation for a lot of the software we use every day. It is the heart of the Mac OS operating system. It's also the heart of the PlayStation operating system for 3, 4, and 5. And FreeBSD, another version, is actually what runs all of what's in. So I mean, it's used all over the place. This is just another example of how awesome open source is. So, keeping that model in mind of having something that's secure by default, even if it means you're a little bit behind. Let's do that with open source packages. And by that, I mean, let's adopt that model in government to do open source software security and review. Remember my disclaimer, that this is not actual policy, as was brought up in the first two presentations, or even a policy proposal. It's nothing more than my wild idea. But I think the government can host and share their own package repositories, and I know we're moving in that direction, but I want to make it, I think it should be official. And I think we should be explicit to say packages there are not guaranteed to be the latest, greatest. Because everything will get vigorous review. And obviously, we wouldn't host all of the things. Not all 3 million packages get up there. But the ones that are used the most, we start with those. Any issues that we find get fixed and submitted back to the main project. That way, we're contributing back to open source and making it better. And I know this is a huge undertaking, which is why I think trusted security experts, vendors, I didn't put them on here, but even universities could be participants in this. It would also help protect us from unpublishing packages, which would take longer because we would catch that and be like, we're not going to unpublish until we're ready. And breaking changes would also be caught earlier because we'd be testing them. And I had to stop. I have other suggestions, but there was not enough room on the slide. So this way, more places in government can use the best of open source software without having to worry that they're exposing themselves to unnecessary risk. And we're promoting a culture of better security and giving engineers a stable set of packages to work off of. And government projects and agencies can benefit from the latest that open source has to offer without having to worry about being exposed. And like I said, I have a lot more that I'm happy to talk about offline, but this is, obviously a lightning talk, so we're at time. So that's it. Thank you. That's my proposal. Thank you.